Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Doomtombpodcast. My name is Chris. I am your host. Today on the podcast, we have two of the band members from Lithopaedion, and they were going around on tour on this Infectious Substance tour, and they were with Clitgore, Romanian gore grind band, Scordatura, which was a Scottish death metal band, Atoll, which was an Arizona-based band. Actually, one of the band members came in a little bit for the interview. You'll get to hear that. That was interesting. And Meatcleaver Amputation, another Arizona-based band. Check them out. I'll put links in the show notes. You know what? Let's just get into it. This is Lithopaedion. We are outside the Yucca Tap Room in Tempe, Arizona at just a little bit after 1 in the morning with band members from Lithopaedion. And you explained it a little off mic. And for anybody that forgets how to pronounce it, could you please, on the mic, just tell me what's the best way to pronounce it?
Sounds like Wikipedia, but it's Lithopaedion.
Lithopaedion. Well, what's the origin of that name?
So Lithopaedion is essentially it's a medical term where you have an ectopic pregnancy, the fetus ruptures from the fallopian tube, but doesn't necessarily die. It'll attach to any other organ in the body. This happens more in third world type countries where they don't have things like C-sections and stuff. So you'll have a fetus gestating attached to like the liver, the stomach, getting those nutrients. Comes to term because it's third world and there are no C-sections. The mom can't obviously have the baby, so the baby dies.
Whoa.
And then covers it with calcium to protect herself from sepsis. And so you now have a little calcified fetus inside.
Wow.
Lithopaedion, like child.
Right. And how did you come up with that as a band name?
Just metal as fuck. We just saw the term. Hadn't heard anything from it. The reason for the extra A for the spelling, which throws everybody off, is that after we'd been working for a little while, there was a band that had released material prior.
Right.
And they had spelled it just with the P-E-D, and so we decided to include the medically correct letter A just as a courtesy to them to avoid any kind of copyright stuff.
Perfect. All right, guys, so how long have you been an active band?
We've been going since like
3.5 years now?
tail end 2015, actually, is when we started. It's like September 2015.
And your hometown is in New Mexico.
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
How do you feel that being from there defines your music? Do you feel that anything from the area gives you that?
I mean, I would say so, only because we've both been in prior projects, and I know that I hadn't really played tech before, and I was in a prior band, and all we did was a lot of the technical stuff, so the more technical aspects of the music that we're doing now is probably kind of a carryover from that prior project.
Right. And we should say that basically, from what I heard, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I hear some Doom influences. I hear death metal, obviously, but it's obviously tech. I mean, watching your finger work is incredible. Also, one of the first drummers I've ever seen that does a circle headbang while playing on stage. That's the first I've ever seen that. I think I caught it. So if anybody's on Instagram, they could check that out. It's on there. So this latest release, you have an EP release. The name of the release?
Unrealized Potential.
Okay. And if you don't mind, you want to go track by track and talk a little bit about each?
Sure. Yeah.
So the first track, Extinction 6.
Yep.
Is that how you'd say it? Okay.
So I just kind of explained it to the crowd when we play as well. This is the 6th mass extinction that this planet has faced, where that many species are dying off that it qualifies as an extinction event. This is the 6th one. Mankind is actually a part of it. It would be fair to say that we're responsible for a good portion of it.
Yeah.
So at this point, we are going to be a part of that, and so we're probably going to be all that's left before too long before we ourselves go away.
You know, I've heard that a lot from other bands. It's like, we are the cancer, and we're doomed. We're ready. It's time for another overhaul of the earth.
And there's actually, in the lyrics that are on the EP, there is a little bit of hope at the end of it that basically says that just because that we're going through an extinction doesn't to say that the planet is going to be dead after us. There's a good possibility that something else will rise up.
Right. Now, can you tell me a little bit, anything else you can add to that track regarding the lyrics? Like, what was your inspiration, like you just said, or was there anything additional to it?
No, I think it was just probably a lot of frustration, specifically with like big game hunting and things like that, like trophy hunting and things like that people
right.
partake in. And it's like, the more endangered the animal is, the more
sought after.
Yeah, the more sought after, the more glorious.
Like a prize.
Right.
And so, I mean, that's like purposeful hunting is extinction type stuff, but also you have like this. There are things that are dying off every day that we don't even necessarily control. It's just happening anyway. Right.
It's like it's the, I don't want to say natural order, but it's just the progression.
Yeah.
And that's how it works.
Absolutely.
Let me go back for a second before we go into the next track. How did you two wind up together?
Well, again, when I was in that prior project, Justin had been in a band called Immortal Prophecy when I was in a band called Victimas, and we had mutual friends. There was a guy that, his name is Joe.
Right.
Joe's a real big name in Albuquerque, and he does a lot of stuff in that town. He booked a lot of shows and set up a lot of fests, and he also had a label and did tours and the band and all this kind of stuff, but he also used to have parties at his house.
Sure.
And so Justin was drumming for Immortal Prophecy. I was working on a studio-only project called Slop, and we had joked around, because Slop is a joke band anyway, but we had joked around about playing Slop live.
Okay.
And so instead we decided...
wow. You hear that? What the hell was that? Somebody's escaping the cops or something. Go ahead.
But when I heard Slop and saw what he was doing, I thought he was a really good guitar player.
Right.
And I'm a very guitar-centric drummer.
Sure.
I heard his stuff, and I honestly was just bugging him to let me do some Slop with him on the side, because I'm, you know how drummers are. They're always looking for something. There's a lot of demand for drums, but at the same time, when you want to be selective about
Sure.
what you're doing, and that was one that I had been bugging about for a while. And I was actually at a Immortal Prophecy band practice, and I got a call from him, and he said, "Hey, I got something for you."
All right, on. Now, explain Slop for a second. Is it like, you say it's like a joke band, is it like, is it a certain style? Is it like maybe like the Mentors or something like that, or?
No, it was, I did 2 CDs with Slop. One of them was kind of a genre hopping thing where there was a lot of like thrash, death, but also other things like reggae and techno and
Sure.
just a mix of stuff. Second one was a little bit more straightforward musically, more of a kind of a tech grind thing. But it all had zombies, but there's just a lot of humor, dark humor in the lyrics. And
right.
It just wasn't meant to really do anything or go anywhere, and that's kind of what happened.
It was like, it was your own outlet.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can get through that. Okay, so let's go into the next track here. And we have Engorged with Suffering.
Yeah, that's become sort of our...
One of faves.
Oh, yeah, one of our...
Definitely a favorite.
It's one of our favorite songs. It's become sort of a staple. We just signed to Gore House Productions this year, so we're going to be recording an album with them.
Shout out to Gore House.
Shout out to Gore House. Engorged with Suffering is the song that we're actually going to be doing on. Not only was it on the EP, but we're going to actually bring that over, re-record it onto the full length as well.
Are you going to add faster? That was going to be my next question. Are you going to do anything different to that track, like any kind of sprucing, or are you just going to kind of keep it even?
No, there's going to be a lot of, it's not going to be rewritten in any way,
It might be.
with the exception of like bass guitar and things like that. Tempos are a little bit different, but for the most part, it's going to be the same. I think there's just going to be a little bit, just more.
There's a lot of tempo switching in that song, but I'd say just a good guesstimate. We're doing it about 15 beats per minute quicker.
Right.
About.
Now, oh, okay. Hey, hello. Oh, hey, why don't you, while he comes on, why don't you say what band you're from?
My name is Chris. I play in Atoll.
Yes, go ahead.
You guys are beautiful. I just wanted to come over and say hi before I caught my lift home.
They crushed tonight, didn't they?
Dude, they fucking killed, dude. Like Lithopaedion? Is that like Pedialyte?
Like Wikipedia.
Like Wikipedia, Lithopaedion. Dude, they fucking killed it tonight, dude. Plus, they my boys, so
Yeah.
they're always good. Anyway, man, I feel really awkward. I just fucking walked around this corner. Here y'all are talking, doing a podcast, and I feel like an asshole. Like, totally shouldn't have walked in. Like, my lift's like a minute away. And,
So let me ask you this. Chris. How long before we're going to have you guys on the podcast?
probably like a week, maybe 2 weeks.
Right on.
It's not going to be very long. You're based out of here, so
Yes, I am.
So yeah, we'll be here, and we're down to hang out. I don't know if we're gonna have anything brilliant to say, but we might talk some bullshit.
I'm down for that.
You got a voice for radio, though. That's just no denying.
Yeah, I got that. What is that? Was that The Ladies Man? Y'all remember that movie, The fucking Ladies Man?
Any chance of you doing like call letters right now for like KUPD or something?
You're listening to WSLAM, which is W Slam. For all you beautiful death metal motherfuckers out there, we're about to get real dirty. Did that work?
That sounded great to me.
Was that decent?
That's.
I like it.
I really feel like the biggest asshole in the world when I say that kind of shit. I'll play around and I like to have fun, but I try not to take myself too seriously. So if I ever sound like I'm taking myself too seriously, go ahead and just slap me right in the face and be like, "Nah, motherfucker, you need to chill out." Like Wu-Tang
style. You're bringing it. There were 36 chambers.
That's about all I got. I got 36 of them, and then my chambers run out. So it's Wu-Tang for life. Oh shit, that's my lift right there.
All right, brother, take care.
I love you guys. Fucking seriously, take it easy in Vegas, man.
man.
Yeah, man. Fucking love you.
Much love to the from the members in Atoll.
Fucking assholes.
Later, Chris.
All right, sorry guys. Did we get through Engorged with Suffering here?
Basically, post-apocalyptic wasteland. I was inspired lyrically by Dune, really, after reading the book again.
Right.
A lot of desert power and things like that, ideas, not wasting water.
Sure.
And then gone kind of with the Mad Max Fury Road sort of idea. Just water is very important in New Mexico and Arizona as well, obviously.
Yes.
We're desert guys. We're from the desert. That's, we keep it harsh. Everything out here is real prickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, stay away from the jumping cholla. What can you tell me about Paths to Infinity?
So the other guitarist, who's actually not on this tour but is still very much a part of the band, wrote that one, and that was essentially just kind of what I would consider sort of a generic track in regards to nuclear war.
Right.
Nothing overly complicated lyrically. Musically, we had a good time with it because we do some interesting tapping techniques in the beginning of the song. And Carl has a very strong sense of dysrhythm in the sense that he writes a lot of stuff that's very challenging for me to play kind of as a more traditional player because the rhythms are they change a lot and it's a lot shorter and choppier than it would be otherwise. And so
Right.
it just turned into a really interesting track.
I do want to get to that afterwards. I want to talk a little bit about more when you play live. I just want to go through a few more of these tracks. Psychopathy, is that how you say it?
Psychopathy writ large.
Psychopathy writ large. What can you tell me about that?
So that is after watching a couple seasons of True Detective.
Right.
Psychopathy writ large is essentially kind of a manifesto from the mind of a serial killer.
Right. I had a guy here. There's a band out here called Pedestal of Infamy, and they have a release, and they're working on more. And they say it's because they're big true crime fans, so they get the majority of their ideas from true crime. They mix it with death metal and create murder metal. So is that kind of what you're?
No, I think this one was more just sort of like the internal workings of, in this case, the killer. It's not really, there isn't really anything apart from fantasy in the song. Like, we don't really talk about gore and things like that within the music. It's a little bit more poetic and ambiguous.
Right.
So it's just sort of the inner workings internally and mentally from this perspective.
Is it a serial killer in general, or was there somebody specific that you had in mind?
No, it wasn't anybody specific at all. It was just sort of this anybody with kind of grandiose visions of themselves.
Right. There's a lot going on in their minds. A lot of weird, odd, strange stuff that, once you start going down that rabbit hole, sometimes you just don't know. You see these people that they look unseeming or what have you, and they're just vicious killers. What can you tell me about Mankind is a Disease?
That was the first song that we wrote as a band. So in musically, because we were pushing ourselves, especially in the beginning, and again now, to be fair, but in the beginning we were pushing ourselves musically a lot, and so that one is challenging to play, but it's also, it has everybody's elements, like everybody's style is incorporated within that one. A lot more so than some of the other ones, because I do a lot of the guitar writing, and so
right.
I think that my style carries through a lot of the stuff. Carl wrote paths, so his style kind of carries through on that one, but Mankind is it's really a true combinations of everybody's writing styles.
I mean, Mankind has a style that, before being in this band, I'd never played anything on the drums quite like it. In a lot of ways, it does have a straightforward, it's most of the riffs are just smash mouth death metal. Mm-hmm. Hits you right in the teeth. And I was trying to do some stuff that had more flow, a little bit of speed kind of thing. And this song just didn't want any of that bullshit. It just wanted you to, come right up get right up in your face and hit. It was something that was a little bit of a departure for me, finding that kind of complex groove. And I mean, I don't want to say it's simplicity. I want to say in its raw element. It's really, it's not as simple as it kind of feels.
Right. Now, so now that we have those tracks out of the way, what do we have coming up for the next release? Can you tell me any of the music coming up, or still working on it? Or?
There's definitely some new stuff. Some of the stuff that we played tonight has been written for a little while, but we're actually going to be recording on the album. Plus, there's some new stuff in the works as well.
Right.
And the new ones are going to be, I think, more challenging than even riskier and more challenging than stuff that we'd even previously written.
Is that in the ideas of having? Because I've noticed that you have some interesting time changes. Is something in that regard, or just the sheer way you're playing it, or
there's a new one that we've done called Traumatic Spiritual Wound, which is just it's a lot of very complicated tech grind style of riffing,
right?
In combination with it's just a little bit more furious than kind of previous stuff. And then one of the songs that we played tonight, which is called Coterminous, that one actually has more of that doom elements that you were listening to.
Yes.
But again, missing the other guitarist and the bass, you can actually hear some of the other elements that are going to be included on the album.
Right. Now that was a question. So, you're not normally a two-piece, is that?
No, this tour only is we're a two-piece. We're just owning it because the other guitarist had a prior obligation that we knew about months and months in advance, and so we planned to go without him.
Right.
And then the bass player was a last-minute surprise.
So you're normally a four-piece?
Normally it'd be a four-piece.
Wow. Okay. Right. So there's a lot more elements maybe on another tour. People may be able to see like another level.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. Now, while you're playing, in regards to the music coming up and the current EP, what do you feel is one of the easier tracks to come across live, to play live, and what's one of the harder ones?
the set list we designed, like the order of the songs that we actually play is based on sort of an easy to hard thing, except that like the first song that we play is actually kind of a slower, groovier song, so it's easier for us to hear everybody.
Sure.
To kind of get an ear what the stage is doing for sound-wise.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult to play, and then it also has kind of a building up type energy. The song right after that is Engorged with Suffering, which is obviously pretty fast right out of the gates. And so we, live is just a matter of translating what we have and then carrying it out with the performance energy, whether it's a two-piece or full band. Like, we just really want to portray the strongest energy we possibly can.
Is there anything that you leave out that you only keep at studio because it's too much to play on stage, or it?
No, I think that for us, it's just like Psychopathy has a more kind of an acoustic intro, and so we used to play it live, and it seemed to do pretty well.
Right.
But it doesn't have the same sort of punch in your teeth kind of vibe that we like to do live. Like, I'm a big fan of that, and that was in my last project as well, where you show up, for 20 minutes you just kick people in the head, and then you get off the stage, and there's not like a lot of room for breathing and wiggle room. And we have some dynamics and stuff in our current set, but it's
right.
a lot less than it could be, I think.
Okay. And when you're playing live, I'd like to talk a little bit about the instruments that you're using, and if there's anything that you're using different in the studio. I'm going to hand the mic over to you so you can have it, and so you both have the microphones, and you could each tell me what equipment you're using, and if you're using any specific pedals or what have you, and between the crashes and cymbals and anything else, and just tell me about your kits.
Well, I first and foremost want to give a shout out to my endorsement deal companies, because I'm lucky beyond words to work with the guys I do. Canopus Drums out of Japan, they're phenomenal drums. I can't say enough about them. It's hard to make them even sound bad. I'm using their Ash Series kit, and it's the sound you have in your head. I don't do anything special with the heads. I'm using coated Remo Ambassador top and bottom, which is, it's basic. I believe that's the first non-calfskin head that was invented. Maybe the second. I don't know. It's really simple. Mm-hmm. Everything about that kit is simple, but they've just done it so well. And on this tour, we're backlining for our pals from Scotland and Romania, Scordatura and Clitgore, respectively. And both drummers have just really enjoyed the kit. My brass snare drum is just, it pierces really hard. The drums record, they separate. And then, and I also got to give a big shout out to Bosphorus cymbals out of Istanbul, Turkey. They're just gorgeous instruments. I've been pushing them real hard, and I kind of have a jazzy setup for what we're doing, and the pushing them to the extreme limits of this death metal is, they're passing with flying colors. I could never have imagined these sounds coming out. Like the sound I've had in my head my whole life growing up. What do I want my drums to sound like? What do I want my cymbals to sound like? And there they are, just screaming across the pages. The guys, Manny Archuleta, Take This Name Studios back in Albuquerque, who we record with. He's been really happy with both. So, big shout outs to those guys making me sound better than I am.
Right.
My own gear is a little bit complicated, but I've had some pals as well. So Dava Picks gave me a big box of picks and said that they believed in me a long time ago. And so I've been using Dava Picks exclusively for a long time now. Tim Garcia helped us hook that up in Albuquerque.
Right.
And then I've got, recently we get a little deal with Cruelty Cabinets. So Nick Bondemas out of Missouri built my Cruelty cabinet to my specs. And so that's the cabinet that I use. So if you notice this, on this tour, because I'm playing as a solo guitarist, I'm actually running the two cabs. So
yes, I saw that, yeah.
So I've got my VHT a Deliverance head, which is a 120-watt head, and I'm running that to the Cruelty cab, and then I've actually got an ABY pedal, so I'm pushing out my Black Star 100-watt head through my Orange cab. So together, it's kind of a big sound overall.
Right.
Very basic pedals. I've got a tube screamer with the VHT because it's a one-channel amp, and I don't want it completely dirty all the time. I want to clean it up every now and then, so I run a tube screamer.
And is there anything that you're looking to add in the future, or for both of you?
Hashtag fire Carl.
What?
Just kidding. He's the other guitarist. I think that, like watching Owen from Scordatura, he's got an ABY switch as well, but he actually is able to go back and forth between the two cabs.
Right.
If I were to maintain something as a single guitarist, I might look into something like that where I can actually swap back and forth in more of a kind of a stereo back and forth format. But other than that, to be honest, like we spent a lot of time sculpting our tone. I have an RG8 Ibanez guitar that I play with, and I've got an Iron Label 8 that I play with as well. But I swapped out the pickups from those guys, and I only use the Nazgul and the Sentient from Seymour Duncan and those guys because it just sounds so much nicer and warmer than the pickups that came with either of those guitars. And so I've been running that for a long time, and so that's been a really, really nice way to go.
Well, and no disrespect to the guys that aren't here, but I think the two-piece, it sounds incredible. And it sounds so full. It sounds like, I don't want to say a full band because you could have a one-man band and sound full too. But it just, the sound coming from the stage sounds so unbelievably great.
Yeah, no, it's really good. And Carl's rig is no slouch either. It's like I think everybody has really spent a lot of time on their gear. And I think that, when we get back up to that 4-piece, it's just as massive as it can possibly be. But we've been spending a long time actually like sculpting tone and caring. And that's been the big void that I see in a lot of bands these days. It's like it's kind of this either-or thing. You've either got people that are pushing, extreme professional rigs like with Kemper or Axe-Fx or something like that.
Right.
In my opinion, sounding completely sterile. And then you've got the other guys that are running like a Line 6 in a crate where it just sounds like crap, and there's not really a lot of good tone out there, exceptions aside, but there's just a lot of opportunity for people to kind of step up their tone game.
Well, it sets you apart. I mean, pure and simple. So how many dates are you in on this tour? I know you only got a few more dates left.
Let's see, what's today, the 9th?
I think so.
Yes, that makes today day 10. We left, we played LA on the 30th of April, so we're on day 10.
Right. And then you're going to play the Metal Fest out in Vegas?
Yep. So we do one more date in Long Beach tomorrow, and then day after we're going to be playing day 1 of the Vegas Death Fest, and that's big shout out to Carlos from the label, kind of getting us on that last minute, and of course, Big Mike in Vegas for putting us on that.
Is there anyone that you're looking forward to seeing there? Live?
Being there and being a part of that experience.
Right.
Band-wise, I mean, I've been in the business for a little while now, so I'm a big fan of a lot of stuff that's out there, so I'm just going to be happy to see anybody we can.
Yeah, just be a part of the scene.
Exactly. I haven't played with the Cephalic Carnage in a long time, so it'll be good to play with those guys again, too.
There you go. Now, we are outside. We're in the parking lot, actually, and by the van. Beautiful van, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Very nice. Beautiful interior. My question to you is, while you're on tour, what are some van essentials that you need to have when you're touring?
Well, I think, I don't know if it's a van essential as much as a tour essential, but I don't think you can really, especially if you're going to be playing in sunny Phoenix.
Right.
Love it here, first of all.
It's
Just
gorgeous.
need to say that. I've never had, no matter how many people come or don't come, I've never had a bad time here. This town knows how to have a good time.
There you go.
But yeah, any tour, especially in these warm places, you gotta have some like Gold Bond medicated.
Really?
You gotta have some wipes, some wet ones.
Yeah, just to shower down.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just making life better.
There you go.
But every now and then, things that you have to have in the van. I gotta go with just a nice cup of coffee.
Right.
Nothing better.
Yeah, I mean, there's sort of any kind of like emergency stuff is going to be also helpful on the road, and like tools and all that crap. But
Sure.
Daily living kind of stuff makes a big difference as far as just comfort level, and comfort level is going to determine, I think, how you play, your energy at the end of the night. Like trying to drum up a bunch of energy after driving for 12 hours is going to be made easier.
Cold water.
Cold water.
Yeah.
Do you have AC?
Yes. We actually just got AC for this tour.
Very nice.
We did a week in Texas last June without AC, so we learned our lesson.
Well, I see you got the on on the windows, you got the triangles. Now, I used to be a truck driver back in the day. And, of course, when I was starting out, I always got the shit rigs. So no AC, no radio. I'm wound up talking to myself the whole damn day. And we used to call that 2W60. It's 2 windows down, 60 miles an hour. That's the AC you get. Yeah. That's about it. And I've seen some gigs, and I've actually talked to some bands where they will go and they will buy ice, like a bag of ice, and just lay it on them as they're traveling through Texas, like in the middle of the summer. It just gets so hot.
It got pretty hot. That particular tour was pretty crazy, like the extreme temperature changes that we actually played with. But we had an outside show, and it was probably 95 at night, and there's a good dose of humidity as well, which is surprising in the desert. And every insect in Texas was crawling on us at the same time. So, anybody that's played McAllen knows exactly what I'm talking about. So I think that the van essentials, as far as just ways to keep cool. Cold water is a big one for us. The cold bond and the wipes, those are like little things. And then we've been traveling with a Bluetooth speaker just because it sounds nicer than the speakers that we have in the van at this point.
Right.
For now, we've got.
So what are you listening to while you're on the road?
Shuffle. I listen to shuffle. So I have a gazillion songs that are on the phone, and we just Bluetooth it and just a bunch of random stuff.
Right.
We're pretty big metal fans.
Sure.
We don't like to discriminate by subgenres. I mean, I think there are some people who get hung up on that, but I think by and large, most people who listen to metal like a lot of different types of metal.
Sure.
Well, I mean, most of them like a lot of different types of music in general, and it's usually pretty surprising just to get different people's tastes and see where other overlaps are. But when, mainly, we want to keep that a high level of piss and vinegar in this van. So we want to be able to go everywhere with that aggression, because we're here to
bring the fucking thunder.
Yeah, we're not here to putz around and play you some smooth Kenny G shit. No,
yeah. Well, look, if you bring it, what does he have? What does he use, a clarinet?
That's a soprano sax.
Soprano sax? Is it really?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, for the guy that doesn't listen to Kenny G, he knows exactly. He just grabs it out there.
I mean, I didn't say I've never listened to Kenny G.
Just
not my go-to.
Wasn't one of his kids? Weren't they a metal fan? I swear I just read that somewhere. Anyway, so one of you is driving, and the other one, what? Sleeping? You got a game on the phone that you're playing?
It just depends. I think that day by day it can change. Like depending on who's traveling in the van, like it can be navigating conversations, jokes up front. It can be sleeping. It could be a movie on the phone. It could be a whole lot of nothing.
A lot of it depends on how well we know where we're going.
Sure.
If we're on a route that we've done before, have some sort of familiarity with, or just a simple one, hey, stay on this freeway for 6 hours, and it's
it's a straight ride, yeah.
Yeah, everything's chill. But if it's a couple of things, we'll usually have navigation or something. But like today we knew exactly how to get here just about until we got into town. So I mean,
right.
I'm really happy usually just to drive on an open highway.
There you go.
It's almost like a meditation for me.
And there are some roads. I shouldn't say some roads. Like when you're taking the I-10 through Texas, there's some places you're not going to see anything for miles.
No.
You better make sure that tank is full, or else you're going to be in a heap of trouble.
Yeah, there's so many things that I have to be engaged with when you're out there traveling, because you've got to know, like you're saying, where gas stations are, how you're doing on this, how you're doing on that, which who needs a break, when are you going to eat, or are you going to eat, however that works out.
Sure.
And there's just a lot of things to be cognizant of at any given time, and I think having that running through my mind kind of helps pass the time.
Right.
You're doing things in real time, but at the same time, you're like, well, you're not thinking about, hey, I'm going to be doing this for the next 6, 8, 10, 12 hours. You're just doing it.
Exactly. Yeah. You just rolling through it. Next thing you know, you're on stage. You're ready to play. So you were talking about movies a little bit ago. Any recent movies that blow your skirt up? Anything good?
No, not at all. I haven't seen any of the new stuff that's come out lately in the theaters. I haven't seen Infinity War yet. I did see Ready Player One, and I actually really enjoyed that. A lot more than I thought I would.
Right.
The movie had a little bit more substance than I was expecting, but yeah, I'm still sort of not into the summer movie thing yet. We're not quite there yet.
Do you stay in any genre when you're watching films?
Not at all. I think writing makes a big difference. Sometimes it's okay to watch a movie and just sort of zen out and not care about story and dialogue and things like that and just be surrounded by effects. But for the most part, that crap kind of bothers me, and I think it kind of goes back to my, I don't know, maybe our more pretentious nature with when it comes to like writing and dialogue, just like songwriting. You should have a story to tell, and there's, I think, a lot of films that are out there these days that don't bother telling stories, or if they do, they soak up the money the entire time and have 30 different prequels and sequels to make it happen.
Exactly. Now
It's offensive after a while.
Yeah, it's almost like not trying.
Like I'm just gonna call out Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to be a big old Star Wars fan, and then after a while, it's just like, okay, I get it. You're making your money.
Yep.
Just not off me.
I hear you. I remember the first and second, obviously, way back, and those were great. And then I kind of trailed. I didn't see the middle three. I saw one of a few years ago in 2015 or whatever it was. I don't know. People talk about it, but I'm just not getting that. Just not getting that push. Now, are you an Avengers fan, or do you care?
I used to be as a kid. I used to read the comic books, and so I was thinking Marvel, even in talking about this, a lot more than Star Wars, as far as like every hero needs their own 3 or 4 movies,
right?
And then we're going to come together and make 3 or 4 more. Like, I don't know, that stuff kind of. I think that they pump out entertaining stuff, but after a while, it just got to the point where I'm not attached to any of the newer Marvel movies.
Now, in the current Avengers movie, is there a guy named Thanos or something like that?
Yeah,
or?
he's like the main bad guy. They've been talking about him sort of haphazardly for a long time now.
Okay, because I don't know, and maybe you could fill me in. I was at a show last week, and I was talking to somebody, and maybe he had a few drinks, I don't know. But he comes up to me, and he says, "You remind me of a guy, like an actor, and I'm not sure. Like, I can't put my finger on it, but, I'll get to you on that." I was like, "Yeah, whatever." He says, "I know who it is. It's the guy in the new Avengers movie, the Thanos guy. That's who you remind me of." I'm like, I don't know if that's a compliment or not. I have no idea. I mean, please. I mean, is he hideous?
I wouldn't say that he's hideous. He's apparently he's a bad guy.
Okay, well, there you go. I guess I'm just a bad, evil man, basically. So after you're done here, what's the trajectory for the next release? Do you have any kind of date in mind, or?
Well, we're going to be depending on, obviously, Carlos from Gore House, again, to sort of determine schedule-wise.
Right.
Our own work ethic is pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
We have a studio very close. Again, Justin mentioned Manny Archuleta and Take This Name Studios in Albuquerque before.
Right.
He lives just up the street and works just up the street from us, so it's going to be very easy to get over there and just crank stuff out. And so I think that we're going to be done with our part here pretty quick, and then I think what we're looking for a release sort of tentatively is going to be maybe first quarter of next year.
There you go. Well, guys, listen, man, I want to thank you for giving me your time. I know it's getting late. I'm sure you got to head off to the next space. Before we go, I have a question to ask you. Is there any question that you would like me to ask the next band I interview? Don't know who it's going to be yet. It could be anything.
I really like the question about gear and tone, so I think it just keep asking what kind of gear to use, because for me, it was such an important thing for us, and to have the opportunity to just kind of talk about what we use, I think is good. And so all 3 bands on this tour, even though we're backlining equipment, have their own take on existing equipment. And
right.
So I think that those little variables make a difference.
Absolutely, they do. I personally, I think it defines a band. That's why it's one of the first questions that I came up with when starting this podcast that I thought, I'll admit I don't play, so I go by what I hear. If I like it, I'll ask. I said, what is this? What is this? What is this? And, band after band, you could see the face light up when it's like, you want to hear about what I put together. Yeah. All right. That rocks. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for your time. Yes?
I'd like to piggyback off of that.
Please, go right ahead.
You know, it is nice to talk about tone because in a way that's really the voice we're using to scream across.
Sure.
You know, it's not, you know, vocalist has a voice and it's unique, but, you know, you're building your own rig. You're defining your voice built off of something else. So it's kind of interesting using something that's not yours, that's not your voice, and making it your own.
Right.
But I think another thing that, to piggyback off of that would be nice to ask somebody is a little bit like on their, not just tone, but when you're in the studio, how you get that production value. What are you looking for when you're trying to get it? Because for us, we're looking for organic tones. We're not into amp processing just as a matter of taste. We're not looking at modeling or triggering or any of that sort of thing. Just
right.
Simply because we don't, it's more of a taste issue where, we grew up listening to records that were done, a bunch of guys in a room playing it live with a couple of sound baffles between them, a whole shitload of mics, and reel to reel. Like it was.
Yep.
Is this what you sound like? You better put up or shut up, because that's what your tone becomes. And I think that's kind of like the methodology of when we record. Like, as a drummer, I feel like my energy is lost if I don't record an entire song in one full take. Like, right. I don't like doing punch-ins. If I can't play it, I can't play it. Change something so you can play it, because you should be able to play your whole part all the way through.
Sure.
If you're going to do it live, why not do it in the studio? It's different, but, you want to get that energy across. If this is the hard section, so I'm going to punch in, I might be losing some of that flavor. So I think like some of those recording methodologies are probably a cool thing to ask the next band that comes in. And what are they looking for? Because there are a lot of guys who want to do amp modeling because they're looking for a different sound or something like that. But
right. Yeah, perfect, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, before you go, please let everybody know how to get in contact with you and how to buy your merchandise and your music and etc.
So we're going to start off with our Facebook page, which has links to all of the stuff. That's going to be facebook.com/BrutalTechABQ.
Mm-hmm.
You can also keep in touch with just what's going on in general with our fabulous label, Gore House Productions.
There you go.
We've also got our EP is out on Spotify. It is out on Tidal if you're one of those people like me who really likes that CD quality on the download instead of just having to do that. But you can get us off CD Baby as well to download.
Right.
Apple Music, Amazon, iTunes.
Tell me a little bit about Tidal. I'm not familiar.
Tidal, Tidal. It's just a hosting for a lot of bands where you can download off the internet. But what's cool about Tidal is it just has a higher sound fidelity.
Right. Was that called the FLAC, the FLAC? Is that what it is, or?
I'm not super positive, but it's about the same quality as actually buying a physical copy of the disc. So you're not getting like a compressed MP3 or something like that.
Right.
I know there's a lot of people who, especially people with good audio systems or headphones, who, they hear the MP3s and this is an MP3. Some people have that ear,
Some people definitely do.
Some people have that ear. So for them, we can, John, you're that guy. But yeah, for those people, there it is, Tidal.
Lastly, LPs, yes or no?
LPs?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, vinyl.
I think that one of the things that we had talked about with Carlos and something that he's trying to do with the label in general is working with bands to come up with different types of merchandise for sale. And so I think that vinyl and cassettes actually are sort of, has come back, and I think that cassettes are coming back, believe it or not.
Yes.
So for an old person like myself, I think it's very interesting. So I think that we'll probably be working with Carlos to get some alternative forms of media and merchandising out there as well.
Awesome.
I wouldn't rule out vinyl or cassettes, to be honest.
Perfect, brothers. Thank you so much for your time. Wish you much success at the Vegas Death Fest and much success from 2018.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We definitely appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Lithopaedion's latest release is called Unrealized Potential. Let's hear a track off that. This is Engorged with Suffering. About a week ago, I was at the Yucca Tap Room in Tempe, Arizona, and I caught this fantastic show. It was like one band built on the other, and it was just a fantastic night. It started out with the band Bloodlust, and they played like this primitive Black Death based out of Phoenix. And I can't wait to have them on the podcast. I see great things for these guys. I've seen them twice already, and they put on a dynamite show. But then there was the band Superstition. They brought some death metal from New Mexico, another great band. But I thought, those two bands, that would have been great for the night. But we were in store for something so much bigger. Spectral Voice put on a dynamic show. Really intense and super atmospheric. Actually, every band was playing this, just this atmospheric style of a mix of black metal and death metal. And it was just a great night. I didn't get any interviews because I just wasn't sure if I had enough to talk about, and I wanted to make sure that I digested their material properly. So I hope they come back around. I'd love to give all of them an interview. And so I tell you what, let's play something off of their Spectral Voice's latest release. This is off Eroded Corridors of Unbeing. This is Spectral Voice with Visions of Psychic Dismemberment. Thank you so much for hanging out towards the end. Doomtombpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on social media at Doomtombpodcast. Leave a review on iTunes. 5 stars would be awesome. I know I got a few, and I'm super thankful. Thanks to whoever did that. I really, really appreciate it. So until next week, enjoy yourselves. Keep going to those shows. Buy some band merch every once in a while. And don't forget to stay heavy.